It is conference championship week here on another edition of Snap the Pigskin. Hello, everybody. I'm Noah Clark. We're going to bring you all the stuff that we're going to talk today. It's going to be a little bit shorter episode. We have the NFC and AFC championship games going on this weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about the coaching cycle today, and we will wrap it up and get out of here. So a little bit quicker of an episode. It's a busy weekend for me. We got, because I also am coaching a rugby team as well. Weekend. So I'm going to try and get this episode out to you as quickly as possible. Let's get started with the first thing of the day, and probably our only news headline of the day, which is the head coach firing cycle. That is happening in the National Football League. And we talk about the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills just firing Sean McDermott last week after their loss to the Denver Broncos off of potentially what could have been a controversial call to save McDermott's job. And then you have two teams, the Ravens. Well, we talked about the Giants last week, but then you have the Ravens and the Dolphins making their head coaching hires and getting their guys to the staff. There's still a lot of jobs out there that are desirable. The Steelers' job is one that is still out there that is very desirable. A lot of head coaches are looking at that one. The Browns' job, probably the least desirable, as several head coaches have tried to take that job. Several head coaches have turned that job down, which is hilarious. But let's start with the hiring, and let's start with the Miami Dolphins finding their head coach, Jeff Hafley. He had his press conference Thursday with the new GM as well, John Eric Sullivan, also from Green Bay, and was the director of player personnel and director of scouting, head department in scouting, one of the best in the business. And both these guys got hired. Both these guys got hired to general manager and a head coach. I do think this is a good fit for Miami. I know Dolphins fans. I was looking all over Twitter this week about just the Miami Dolphins and Dolphins fans complaining, like not happy with the Hafley hire. A lot of the Dolphins, fan base is the opposite. They want a guy with some experience. They want a guy who's been there before, and they want a guy who can bring the Dolphins to the promised land, who's been a proven winner at that level. And Jeff Hafley is a proven, he's proven that he's been really good at all the stops he's been at. You look at when he was in Boston College. You look at he was the head coach for Boston College too. He was in Boston College as the head coach. And he left his head coaching job to go coach, to be the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. That was a rare sight to see. Okay. Then you look at it, 2 years there, has a very successful defense, now gets the Miami job. And I do think Miami nailed this hire. He was the hottest. He was the best coach on the market at that time before Brian Flores. Brian Flores just got extended to the Minnesota Vikings, which puts Minnesota really in the driver's seat for them being a contender next year just because they have Brian Flores. That defense is going to be really good next year. But back to Jeff Hafley. I love this hire. I love the John Eric Sullivan hire. I think that these two are both really good at their jobs. They're both really good at what they do. Jeff Hafley's really good at the defensive side. John Eric Sullivan's really good at scouting players, bringing in talent. And when you have those two both coming from the same organization, that's even better. Like it really can be easy to just say, okay, this is going to work. Like we're fine. And I do think they're going to be fine. Now, I will say Miami's going back to the defensive coach route, where before They went from, when they had Mike McDaniel, they went before Mike McDaniel. You had, they've kind of flip flopped too. This is the other thing with the Dolphins is they flip flop back from offensive to defensive, and they really can't decide which one every cycle. Like, go back and look at every head coaching cycle the Miami Dolphins have had, or at least the last 4 head coaching cycles the Dolphins have had. It's been flip-flopped. Every hire that they've had, the Dolphins have had a flip-flop. And the reason I say that this is very interesting is because their head coaching cycle is just it baffles me. It just baffles me. They go to another defensive coach. I mean, and I'll just even pull up the past stuff. Like, you look at it, they started in, this goes back. They had Adam Gase. They fire Adam Gase. They bring in Brian Flores. They fire Brian Flores. They bring in Mike McDaniel. They fire Mike McDaniel. And they bring in Jeff Hafley. So they have gone offense, defense, offense, defense. They've never gone offense as a head coach, or defense, offense as for a head coaching hire. It's been flip-flop. So, which you could say, yeah, it could kill the team and their chemistry, because let's say if it's a defensive coach and he doesn't really care about the offense, he's going to want to bring it, he'll bring in an offense coordinator, but he's not going to care much about the offense. He's going to care about the defense. Whereas you have an offensive head coach, a la Mike McDaniel or Adam Gase, like, they're going to really care about the offense. They're not going to care much about the defense. They could care less about the defense. So I just, you have this toss up. You have like this toss up with the chemistry, and it totally completely ruins the chemistry. So that's the one thing I will say with Jeff Hafley is, if they come into this situation this year, they have to get the offense right. Not good, right. This is a big year. I mean, Tyreek Hill's gone. Tua's absolutely going to be gone. They have right now Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane as your 2 stars on the offensive side. And you lost Jalen Phillips on the defensive side, so you don't have a pass rusher. You're going to have to redo the pass rushing group and start from scratch. I mean, like, this is a situation too for Hafley and for Eric Sullivan. And for Eric Sullivan. I don't even know if you should say Eric Sullivan or Sullivan. Where they have to come in, and frankly, Dolphins fans are not going to be happy about this. They're going to have to completely gut the roster, and they're going to have to start over. Like, they're going to have to get rid of some guys just to get draft capital. I mean, they traded away, a couple firsts to get Tyreek Hill, and then proceeded to get Jalen Waddle after they traded another superstar away to get Jalen Waddle. And I believe Jalen Phillips was also in there as well. But yeah, I don't know where this Dolphins team is going to be at. I do think that everybody for Miami is going to be on pins and needles with Hafley. I do think that first year is going to be brutal for them. They have to really come in with a very good draft. They have to be better in terms of that. The one position, but I will say this, you can't go into a whole season. You can't go a whole off season. And it is one of the longest off seasons in sports. But you cannot go into a whole off season without even considering looking for a new quarterback, looking for that quarterback. And the one guy that obviously that everybody's been having in their minds, at least Packers fans, that they know that would be a perfect fit, Malik Willis. Malik Willis would be a perfect fit for the Dolphins. I mean, like, it's one stop. It's one spot. So, but I do like this hire. I've loved Jeff Hafley from the time he stepped in to Green Bay into 1265 Lombardi. And since he stepped into 1265 Lombardi Avenue, like, they have been really good. Like, their defense has been really good. He's been really good. He's brought an edge to that defense they desperately needed. And I think Miami's going to get two. And he's got that leadership mentality. He's got those leadership qualities. The leadership qualities that you would want in a coach. In a coach that just the Dolphins haven't had in a long time. I mean, you may have had that with Brian Flores, but this guy is a proven leader. And when you have guys that are proven leaders, they can build everybody else around you to be better. And he's done that. And I love this hire for the Miami Dolphins. Another hire, too, that I think will be very interesting that I might be on board with, Baltimore Ravens. They hired Jesse Minter, DC from the Chargers, was on the staff in Baltimore in 2020, then went to Michigan, joined the Wolverines after Mike Macdonald left for the NFL to actually go back to the Ravens and then get a head coaching job out in Seattle. And now he's playing for the NFC Championship game this weekend. But Jesse Minter, man, there's just, I will say this. There's something about Harbaugh's staff and something about, like, the guys that not just only John Harbaugh brings in, but Jim Harbaugh. I mean, John Harbaugh, every year, I think we've seen it, he at least loses one of his staff members. One. Like, he loses at least one of his staff members every year for a higher coaching job, for a higher end coaching job, whether it be a DC, or a better position coach job, or in cases we've seen it now, head coaching jobs. I mean, this is now the second head coaching job that we've seen from a Baltimore Ravens staffer. I mean, like, it's impressive what the Harbaughs have done and how they develop their staff and how they create their staff. And I am very curious how this hire is. This is one that I do think could go either really well or really bad, because they basically Baltimore just said, we're going to go, we're going to do what Seattle did. And essentially what they're saying is, we're going to go out, we're going to get the best defensive coach on the market. We're going to get the guy. We're going to get the guy that's done the success with the Harbaughs and has done well with coaching. We're going to get him. And I think that's good. That's a good game plan to have. It's a good game plan to have. But you also have to keep in mind that Baltimore, I honestly think, needed an offensive guy. You have Lamar Jackson, and you still have Derrick Henry. You have Zay Flowers. You have a really good group there. You have a good offensive line. You have, you have two really good tight ends, and one maybe leaving for free agency. But I don't understand why you would want to break that up and go the defensive route. I understand, yes, Baltimore's identity is the defense. They are very much a defensive team. They've never been an offensive team per se. I just don't get it. That's the one thing I just don't get, is why would you let Harbaugh go when you knew the offense was bad, and then you hire a guy who may not care as much. And though and may not care as much, may not have, the ability to coach, to train the offensive guys. Maybe that's a possibility. But I will say this, though. However, I will say this, Ravens fans, don't worry. We look at what happened with Mike Macdonald, and we look at what happened in his first year with Seattle last year. In his first year at Seattle, they had to do a lot of things. They had to tweak the offense. They had to make it they had to tweak the offense. They needed to find their quarterback. They found their quarterback in Sam Darnold. They tweaked the running game. They tweaked it to where instead of having it be an offense that's a passing offense with Ryan Grubb as their OC, they said, you know what? We're going to be a team that's going to run the ball. And we're going to run it with Kenneth Walker. And we're going to run it with Zach Charbonnet. We're going to get Clint Kubiak. And we're just going to start running the wide zone. We're going to run wide zone. We're going to make it hard for these teams to cover us. And it worked. Year 2, it worked. I think that in year 2, or I think not year 2, I think in year 1, like if you're the Ravens, and especially if you're Eric DeCosta, you should follow the blueprint of what the Seahawks are doing. And if you're Jesse Minter, when he's carving out his staff, he really should think about what he wants this identity of the team to be. If it's a wide zone, make it a wide zone offense. I think using a wide zone offense with Lamar would be very good for him and very good for this team. Now, if he's not the fit for this Ravens team, then you can trade him. You can absolutely get a ton of draft capital to rebuild the roster and make it a roster that can compete and that can be as the offense you want it to be. So Ravens fans, I know they're probably high on Jesse Minter, but see how year 1 goes. And it's all going to depend on, too, how Jesse Minter wants to come into this offseason with this offense. I just truly think he has to go back and look at Mike Macdonald and look at what he's done. I mean, look, the offense has been pretty good. They've really done a good job. The defense is really good, which brings me to which I haven't even talked about his strength yet. But the strength of Jesse Minter is he's a really good DC. Like a really good defensive guy. You look at what he's done when he was at Michigan. And then you look at from Michigan to when he went back to Baltimore. And then when he went from Baltimore to the Chargers. And I do think that this is a good hire in a sense of the defense, in a sense of the defense could be really, really good in their first year with him. I mean, they have kind of the pieces to go along with that defense. You have a guy in Kyle Hamilton. You have Nate Wiggins. You have Marlon Humphrey for that secondary. You have pieces on that secondary that are going to be good. The pass rush. They have a really good pass rush. It's an underrated pass rush for this group. Underrated pass rushing group. And Odessa Owe, and which actually I don't even think he's on the roster anymore, but they're trying to think who else would be on the right, which is why, because again, I say this, the Ravens pass rush is very underrated, but they get, in my opinion, don't get enough love, and they should. They are so good. But I do think Jesse Minter can get that defense to a top 10 defense in his first year. I could really see that happening. I mean, they have the pieces to get it done. They have the players to get it done. He's going to get that Ravens team to be very scary in a division where who knows what the Steelers are crafting up at quarterback, and who even knows who their head coach is going to be. Then you look on top of that, you have the Bengals, who out of all the dust clearing, the Bengals are the only team in the North that did not fire their head coach. Zach Taylor's still there. And it's hilarious to me because he should not be there. He should have been the one that should have got fired too because of the job that he did. And yes, I do think we do put the blame on the fact that Joe Burrow missed, he was out. What was it? The first game of the season, second game of the season. And he did not have Joe Burrow for like most of the season. And by the time the season was over, like by the time he comes back, the season's over for them. So that division will be interesting. I think the Ravens are going to have a good hire. I think they got a good hire. It's just going to depend on what this offseason is going to be, especially for Miami. I mean, this is going to be one hire that I think will be it's going to be very puzzling what the Dolphins will do, because they right now have no plan. They're not even close to winning the AFC East. They're not even close to making the playoffs, even just getting a wild card spot at the moment. So I think they may have to blow it up, but we'll see. Now, for the head coach firing, I talked a lot about the head coach hirings, but the head coach firings are pretty interesting. And for one, starting with the Buffalo Bills, and just with Buffalo firing Sean McDermott. I did not expect this, but I also am kind of like, I think it was time. It was getting to that point where I think it was very much time. The Bills fired their head coach, Sean McDermott. And I think it was time. I just think they need someone who can get this team over the hump and get this team into the postseason, because we've seen it now the last several years since he's been there as a head coach, and since even when he's got Josh Allen, they have not been able to get this team over the hump, and they've been so relatively close. You look at that stretch from 2020 up till now, they've had chances, and especially this year, this was their best chance at winning a title, like their best chance. And you look at 2020 when they lose in the AFC Championship game. 2021, they don't even make it to the AFC Championship game. They lose to the Bengals. 2022, same thing. They lose to the Bengals. And then 2023, they get a home playoff game, can't close out in a home playoff game against Mahomes. 2024, they lose another playoff game, and they lose another playoff game in the AFC Championship game. Like, up to this point in this 4-5-year run, they've been there on the doorstep. They've been there. They've done the work. They know what it takes to get to the AFC Championship game. They just cannot get past the bouncer. And the bouncer usually is Mahomes, Burrow, or Lamar Jackson. And this time now, it felt different. It felt different. I mean, you look at even from the beginning of the year too, like they didn't win their division this year. The Patriots did. After Buffalo having a decade of close to a decade of dominance. Like you look at it, the Bills, let me put it this way. After Brady left, the Bills won the division for the next 5 years. They won the division the last 4 straight years until this year. This was their first year. And so I just look at it, this year was kind of the year where you're like, the Bills could easily go win this division. They could easily go make it, in the Super Bowl, especially even when you get to the playoffs too. And your biggest foes aren't even there. The Ravens, the Bengals, and the Chiefs, all not there. They are not playing for a playoff spot at that point. You have made it into the dance. You have known that this is what it's going to take to get to the next round. And even too, they won a road playoff game against the Jaguars. And the Buffalo game happens. And it's the same thing. Same thing in the Buffalo game. And I just think that after that Buffalo game, or after that Denver game, when they play the Broncos, I think that was the final straw. I think Brendan Bean and Terry Pegula made that decision of, we need to make a change. We need to make a change at head coach. And I am very curious how this is going to turn out for Buffalo. I am very curious how the Bills are going to turn out, because here's the thing with Buffalo, and here's the thing that I get frustrated by, and I've been frustrated by, is this team is not good. This roster build that they've had is not good. I mean, you look at 2023, in 2023, like after the 2023 season going into 2024, they had to gut their roster. Like, they had to gut their roster, cut everybody, like cut big, and not just everybody, but cut big pieces of that group out. Like, they let Stephon Diggs go. They let Stephon Diggs go, which was a big cap casualty. They let some of the players on the defensive side go, which is tough. And I mean, like, they had to cut 35, like, I think, what was the number? It was like 35 million the past offseason. And yes, they still made the AFC Championship game, which incredible, great for them. Josh Allen played at an MVP level, though, with the receiving core that he had too. But I just don't think, I will say this, I don't think you fire Sean McDermott and not leave Brendan Bean's name out of this conversation, because he's not done a good job either. He's not done a good job. I mean, you look at Brendan Bean, especially these last two drafts. I mean, they've been awful, dude. It's been awful to watch them. I mean, the defensive side has been, up and down. They really haven't invested well in a pass rusher. They went and got Joey Bosa, and everybody's thinking, well, you got Joey Bosa, that may improve your pass rush. You did, yes, they did pay Gregory Rousseau to stay, but man, it's very hard for me to not give Brandon Bean a pass when you look at how bad the offense is. I mean, they just are horrible. They literally traded away Josh Allen's best target in Stephon Diggs, or not trade. They've traded him. Yeah, they traded him to the Houston Texans. And then on top of that, he comes back and beats the bricks off you in your own division. And then another thing as well with that is, I mean, like, after that, they go and get a guy in Keon Coleman, who clearly the organization did not like. He clearly did not want to draft him. Like, if you go back, I mean, there's been a video out there that Terry Pegula has said that, and I don't know if this because AI's thrown this off, but Terry Pegula said that Brandon Bean, we were glad that Brendan was a team player and he drafted Keon Coleman. I mean, like, he didn't even want to draft him. And it's been turning out to be really not a good pick for this organization. I mean, he has not done a good... Keon Coleman has struggled since he got to Buffalo. Run game has been 50-50. They drafted Ray Davis last year and to kind of complement James Cook, and it worked well with Ray Davis, but now this year, Ray Davis is seeing zero meaningful snaps. Like, it's all James Cook. And it's just this year, I mean, like, and then obviously the big one, I mean, like, obviously we go to Stephon Diggs. I mean, you look at the wide receiving core. They are just horrendous. Horrendous. I mean, you have Khalil Shakir, Gabe Davis, and Keon Coleman. And then you have your tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. That is not like, I'm sorry, Buffalo Bills fans, but if you want to blame Sean McDermott for your playoff losses, you can also blame Brendan Bean, because the way that he's drafted the last 2 seasons has been pathetic. It's been pathetic. It's been awful. It's been just terrible. They haven't addressed the one position that they should have addressed, and it was wide receiver. And you're hoping as a Bills fan this year they address it, and they go into the draft, they go into free agency this year, and they address it. And it's going to start with the new head coach too. And I'm very curious who Brendan Bean's going to hire, because if he botches this head coaching cycle, if he botches this head coaching hire up, like if he botches this hire up, I don't see Josh Allen playing the rest of his career out in Buffalo. I just don't. Because there's going to be some clear friction with the front office, because you know, yeah, you want the head coach, you know, we're going to get you an offensive minded head coach and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't work and the Bills are bad, then oh my gosh, then I don't know if Josh Allen is in Buffalo much longer if this goes south. And that's, I'm saying, if it goes south. I mean, he's playing at an elite level too. I mean, he just won the MVP last year. But I don't know, man. It's going to be very hard to convince Bills players to, especially Josh Allen, your franchise player, to stay if it gets bad. So that does it for us for the head coaching hire and fire cycle. And I know I talked a lot, and I said this was going to be a quick episode. But let's get into the AFC and NFC championship game previews, because we are on championship game week, and the Patriots and the Broncos going at it. And you would think that to start this episode, you would think it's 2016. I've seen this all over. You would think it's 2016 with the way that this matchup is. You'd think Peyton Manning is playing Tom Brady. You'd think Von Miller is going up against Logan Mankins. You would think that we're still seeing Rob Gronkowski out there and Julian Edelman out there. You're thinking we're seeing Demaryius Thomas and Owen Daniels out there. And that is not the case here. Instead, we're going to watch Jarrett Stidham for the Denver Broncos throw some missiles out there. And on the other side, Drake May for New England. And I for one, am going to enjoy this game. This is going to be a very fun game. Denver's defense going up against New England's offense. It's Josh McDaniels versus Vance Joseph on the coordinator side. It's going to be fun. It's going to be very fun, very interesting how the defensive side fares up for the Denver Broncos, because this Broncos defense is no joke. They're really good. Really good. And if you're Denver, you're going to make this game close. And this is one of the keys to the game, I think, is for Denver. If they're going to win this game, they got to keep it close against the Patriots. I do think if you're Sean Payton, your offense is not going to, your offense with Jarrett Stidham for the moment does not look like it's going to be really productive. They had Bo Nix last week, and Bo Nix was very productive. But with Jarrett Stidham, can he keep that production going? That is the one question mark I do have. So you're really going to have to hope that the defense, which is where the defense comes in, you're going to really have to hope that your defense can get you one, maybe 2 stops, maybe a takeaway, and set your offense up in good field position. Shorten the field. Make it so that your offense doesn't have a lot of space, a lot of field to go with, and make it so that Jarrett Stidham doesn't have to have that much pressure. I think that it's going to be a game where the defense for Denver has to be elite, and they have to step up and be incredible. That's what I think. For New England and the Patriots, this is going to be very interesting. I am curious what Josh McDaniels is going to dial up for this game. He did a phenomenal job. I shouldn't say phenomenal. Let me phrase that. He did a very good job of being able to manage in the conditions that they were managing in. I mean, cold snow. It was a bad game. Both teams were turning the ball over. Both teams really couldn't do much, but still New England found a way to move the ball, and they were able to score some points. And Keyshawn Boutte, man, I mean, like, what a heck of a catch. If you watched it last week, the one-handed diving catch that he had over the Texans receiver, I mean, like, that was insane. But now here in this game, you're going on the road, you're going to Denver, a place where the Patriots historically have not had very good success. They've not had a very, very good luck playing in. Even when Tom Brady was here, this was one of the few stadiums where he had, not a winning record. And in the postseason, especially, he struggled in this spot in the postseason. Now it turns to Drake May. How does Drake May handle this? Because I truly think like this will be very interesting. Drake May's in his first playoff run ever as a quarterback for the Patriots. How does he handle this playoff run? How is Josh McDaniels going to dial it up for him on offense? Because if he dials up something nice, if they dial up a game plan that's conservative, I think Denver's going to eat that up all day. I think you're going to get a very low scoring game. But if he goes out and they come out and be aggressive and attack early, that could really, I think that really gives them an advantage. If they score early too, that's the other thing. You score early on Denver, you're in a very good position to really say, okay, we've scored early. We don't have to really go out. We can rely on our defense to go out and get those stops. We can rely simply on our defense to go out and just make those plays. Like, they can do that. So I think that this will be very interesting. I truly think if you're New England, and if you're the Patriots, you cannot let Denver's defense make this a game where their defense is going to be physical with you. We've seen it with the Broncos and we've seen it with Sean Payton coach teams. Physicality is their mantra. It is their MO. They will be physical with you from start to finish. And if New England gets into a game where it's physicality, Denver's going to win that every time. So, make the prediction here. I think this is going to be a very close game. I think they also do have Jared Stidham on the offensive side. And I didn't even talk about him because I know for a fact this is going to be a defensive game. I think Denver's defense has been playing really well. And I do think that the offense is going to struggle for Denver. They're going to rely on the running game. They're going to rely on those running backs. And you can. But when it comes to the passing game, I think New England's going to have something cooked up for this game that's just going to be like, we're not really worried about Jared Stidham. And because of that, I am going to take the Patriots to make the Super Bowl. I think they're going to go to Santa Clara. I just think that this is a game where if Denver had, and I'll even say this too, if Denver had Bo Nix in this game, if Bo Nix does not get hurt in the divisional playoff game last week, we are talking about a completely different. I see this game favoring the Broncos because Bo Nix has been playing at a really good level. But I got New England. I think the quarterback is going to be key, and it's such a big game. I just don't think that they're going to be ready to go on the offensive side. I know Sean Payton's a really good coach, but I think Denver and Mike Vrabel I think New England and Mike Vrabel are going to be ready to go, and I think that they're going to be really good on New England's defensive side. So I got Patriots winning this one by 3 in this game over the Broncos. Now on to the NFC Championship game, and we're going to wrap this up here. We're at the 40-minute mark of our show. Rams and Seahawks. And this is the third time these two teams are meeting. And we're going to get a special game here. I mean, Patriots Broncos is going to be good. Rams and Seahawks is going to be elite. Like, this could be the game of the year, pending the Super Bowl. But this is going to be the game of the year. This is a candidate for game of the year because we've seen the last two games be really fun games and really big dogfights. The Rams winning in winning the matchup against the Seahawks, despite, Sam Darnold throwing a plethora of picks. The Rams were able to win that game still. The Rams struggled too in that game. They won the first meeting. Then the second meeting, Thursday Night Football, a chance for the Rams to get the 1 seed, win the division, and not have to worry about playing Seattle until the championship game. And the Rams were up double digits, and they lost. They lost to the Seahawks. And Sam Darnold, man, 2-point conversion in overtime to win the game. And holy cow, those first two games were exciting. Part 3 is going to be even more exciting. The Seahawks last week just gave the absolute belt-to-ass treatment on the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams game was a lot closer. They won it in the cold snow in Chicago. They won it in the cold snow in Chicago, and Cam Curl came up with a big interception off Caleb Williams. And now, here we go again. AFC Championship game or NFC Championship game, round 3 this time. This is for high stakes. The winner goes to the Super Bowl. And I talked about this at the beginning of the year with Kedrick. We both thought the NFC West was not going to be a good division. We did not see that they were going to be a good division. Now you look, the NFC West is competing once again for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And man, I am very curious how this will turn out for both sides, because you look at the Rams, Matthew Stafford's playing at an MVP-like level. I mean, he's leads the NFL in touchdown passes this year. He is, he's got a really good running game of Kyron Williams and Blake Corum in his second year. They have Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, still playing at a really high level. Puka Nacua playing at a high level. You have a defense that has been really good. They've been really good at not letting teams score. I think it's going to be tough for the Seahawks. But then I look at the Seahawks and what I talked about earlier on this show, Seattle and that wide zone with Clint Kubiak. That is going to be very hard to cover. You have Kenneth Walker now, who is the lead back. Zach Charbonnet is out for the season. He's out for the rest of the postseason. Tore his ACL last weekend. That's a big blow because you don't have your other workhorse back. But now it's the Kenneth Walker show. And they are more, and if you're a Seattle fan, you are more than fine with giving Kenneth Walker the ball because of his performance last week. I mean, he was just electric in that game against the 49ers. And Sam Darnold, electric. And mind you, Sam Darnold had an oblique injury and didn't practice all week, did not throw the football, and still played in the game. I mean, I give credit to the Seahawks. They are not, this is not going to be a game where I think the Rams are just going to come in and push them over. I do not think that whatsoever. What I do think is that both of these teams are going to make this a shootout. This is going to be a shootout. And it's going to be dependent on who strikes first. This is going to be one of those games. Whoever strikes first is going to get the upper hand. And it's going to come down to one turnover could change the impact of this game. I mean, you look at the Rams, you look at it the last time they met in Seattle. Rams were up by a bundle. They were up by a bundle. Sam Darnold threw multiple picks in that game. That changed the outcome of that game. But then Rashid Shaheed on the kickoff return or the punt return gives changed everything for Seattle. And by the end of that game, they end up winning in overtime. It's going to take one play. I think it's going to be one play or something, one play to decide who wins this game. And this is going to be very tough to decide who's going to win this game. But I'm a Maniac prediction for this one. I think when you look at these two teams, both these two teams have fought very hard. I mean, this is the 1 seed going in against the 5 seed. If I had to pick on who was going to win this game, last week I picked the Niners to beat the Seahawks because they had the playoff experience. I think this week I'm going to pick the Rams. I'm picking the Rams by 3. I think Stafford is having such a great year, and he's been in this spot before. And I said, too, this could potentially be his last run here for the Rams. I mean, if he goes to the Super Bowl, and wins it again, we're talking a potential retirement for Matthew Stafford. He doesn't really need to accomplish much more. But I got the Rams winning this one. I got them winning it by 3. I think it's going to be very tough. If Sam Darnold can just control, and not throw as many picks and play how he did in that game against San Francisco, I think they'll be fine. But the 2 games he's played against the Rams, Sean McVay has had his number, and I could see this happening again here in this game against the Seahawks. So I got Seattle losing this game. I got the Rams winning it by 3, and they'll be playing New England in the Super Bowl for a third time. Now. And it will be Rams Patriots for the Super Bowl, and I cannot wait for that. And with that, that does it for us here on another edition of Snap the Pigskin. Watch Snap the Pigskin wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to follow us on any of the podcast channels that we have in our show. Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, etc. And yeah, next week we got the Super Bowl coming up, and that'll be fun. We're going to recap, championship week, and we're going to probably talk more award stuff. It may be next week too. We may just recap the championship game and go into the NFL honors, or it might just be we might finish the head coaching cycle, because the head coaching cycle is coming up and it's almost done, hopefully. And then we'll jump into the Super Bowl. And I cannot wait to see who makes it to the Super Bowl. I cannot wait for this Sunday. So for those of you watching, I'm Noah Clark. Have a great weekend. This has been another edition of Snap the Pigskin.